Having kept the world waiting for 4 tantalizing days, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have finally revealed their newborn son is called Louis Arthur Charles. Royalists and bookmakers alike have waited patiently since Monday to find out the name of the new arrival and fifth in line to the throne. The baby will be known as His Royal Highness Prince Louis of Cambridge. More than 100,000 bets were placed across the UK betting industry on the baby name, with both Albert and Arthur leading the way as the bookmakers' favourite. But William and Kate have plumped for a name used for centuries across the channel by the French, who have had 18 kings called Louis. Earlier this week, Prince William teased his newborn could be given the name Alexander, or the rather less traditional moniker, Jerry. The first Louis I, known as Louis the Pious, reigned between 778 and 840. The most famous was Louis IX, known as the Sun King, whose reign started aged 4 and lasted 72 years and 110 days, the longest recorded of any monarch of a sovereign country in European history. Queen Elizabeth's reign is currently in its 66th year. The last one was Louis XVIII, who reigned for a year until Napoleon took power for a second time in 1815 and ensured the monarchy was destroyed. As he arrived for an Anzac Day service at Westminster Abbey on Wednesday, Prince William playfully joked about potential names. Australia's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Alexander Downer, suggested to Prince William he should call the boy Alexander. "Have you thought about the name Alexander for him?" the former foreign minister asked. "Well, it's funny you should say that.It is a good name," he said. Alexandra is the middle name of the baby boy's great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, and Alexander is also the middle name of the newborn's older brother, Prince George. However, Prince William agreed the name Jerry was a strong name after Mr. Downer suggested his New Zealand counterpart, Sir Jerry Mateparae, would also like to see the baby named after him. The newest member of the royal family is His Royal Highness Prince Louis of Cambridge. The newest member of the royal family has been named Louis Arthur Charles. The baby will be known as His Royal Highness Prince Louis of Cambridge. William and Kate have plumped for a name used for centuries across the channel by the French, who have had 18 kings called Louis. The first was Louis I, known as Louis the Pious, who reigned between 778 and 840. The most famous was Louis IX, known as the Sun King, whose reign started aged 4 and lasted 72 years and 110 days, the longest recorded of any monarch of a sovereign country in European history. Queen Elizabeth's reign is currently in its 66th year. The last one was Louis XVIII, who reigned for a year until Napoleon took power for a second time in 1815 and ensured the monarchy was destroyed. Lord Louis Mountbatten, who is a British statesman and naval officer. Lord Louis Mountbatten, the last Governor-General from Britain, waving a cheery farewell to the crowds in Delhi. The name is also shared by Louis Tomlinson, the singer-songwriter from One Direction. The 26-year-old was born in Doncaster before joining the boy band, who went on to worldwide fame after appearing on The X Factor. He later appeared as a guest judge on the show, before launching a number of solo projects. He has a son with now ex-girlfriend Brianna Jungwirth. Louis Armstrong was a world-renowned musician and singer, perhaps best known for his rendition of What a Wonderful World. Born and raised in New Orleans, USA, his instantly recognizable gravelly voice and unparalleled trumpet skill saw him rise to prominence in the jazz scene during the 1920s. He enjoyed a long career spanning 5 decades, culminating with his induction into the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame in 2017. Louis Vuitton was a French fashion designer who lived from 1921 to 1892. He went from poverty in rural France and trekked into Paris before becoming the apprentice to a boxmaker. He later launched his own brand and was hired as personal boxmaker and packer to the Empress of France under Napoleon III. Since his death, a fashion brand bearing his name has become a global brand. Prince takes his place in royal order of succession as fifth in line to the throne. The new Prince of Cambridge has become the fifth in line to the throne, pushing Prince Andrew out of the top 6 for the first time. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's third child, a younger sibling to Prince George and Princess Charlotte, is now the Queen, and the Duke of Edinburgh's 6th great-grandchild. The boy, weighing 8 pounds 7 ounces, is also a great-great-great-great-great-grandchild of Queen Victoria. Following the baby's arrival, Prince Harry shifts down the line of succession to 6th place. The Duke of York, who was born 2nd in line, has moved to 7th and Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie to 8th and 9th. Andrew falling out of the top 6 means he will no longer have to ask the Queen for permission to marry, unlike Charles, William, George, Charlotte, and Harry. The first 6 people in the line of succession must have the Queen's consent before they can marry on May 19th, as set out by the Succession to the Crown Act 2013. The Act's introduction also saw sex removed as a determining factor in the line of succession. It has also been claimed that the royal baby has been born a commoner. Royal historian Marlene Conant told Town & Country, "It sounds complicated, but in the UK, the only people who are not commoners are the sovereign and peers of the realm, people with titles like Duke, Marquess, Earl, Viscount, and Baron." It was always thought that William and Kate would go on to have 3 children. Kate is one of 3 and had a happy home life with her sister, Pippa Matthews, and brother, James Middleton, and is close to both of her siblings. But William may need to adjust to caring for a newborn once again. Kate joked in the months leading up to her due date that her husband was in denial about having a third. By having more than 2 children, William and Kate are following in the footsteps of the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, who went on to have 4 children, although there was a gap of 10 years between their second child, Anne, and third, Andrew. As a sibling to both future King George and spare to the heir Charlotte, the new baby is unlikely ever to be crowned sovereign. The Duke of York is the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh's third child, but when Andrew was born in 1960 he leapfrogged his older sister, Princess Anne, in the line of succession. The Cambridge's third child will no longer be allowed to jump ahead of older sister Charlotte in the line of succession. Previously, under the ancient rules of male primogeniture, royal sons took precedence over their female siblings, even leapfrogging firstborn royal daughters. But a radical shake-up of the royal succession rules removed discriminatory male bias and came into force in March 2015, affecting babies born after October 28, 2011. The succession to the Crown Act 2013 has already affected the Duke of Gloucester's granddaughters, Senna Lewis and Lila Gilman, whose younger brothers, born in 2012, now follow them in the line of succession. The new baby will be a prince or princess thanks to the Queen, who stepped in ahead of Prince George's birth to ensure all William's children would become HRHs with fitting titles. The Queen issued a letters patent under the Great Seal of the Realm in December 2012, when Kate was just a few months pregnant, declaring all the children of the eldest son of the Prince of Wales should have and enjoy the style, title and attribute of Royal Highness with the titular dignity of Prince or Princess prefixed to their Christian names, or with such other titles of honor. A letters patent in 1917, issued by George.V, limited titles within the royal family, meaning daughters born to William or Kate would not have been an HRH-But lady, forename, Mountbatten Windsor instead, and second or later born sons would also have lacked the HRH title and become Lord, forename, Mountbatten Windsors rather than princes. What were the names in the running? Here are some of the contenders. Alexandra is the name of the baby boy's great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, and the middle name of the newborn's older brother Prince George. There has never been an English king called Alexander, but 3 medieval Scottish kings ruled as Alexander. Alexander I reigned from 1107 to 1124. Alexander II from 1214 to 1249 and Alexander III followed him from 1249 to 1286. Alexander derives from the Greek word meaning protector of men, with Alexander the Great one of its most famous exponents. One of Charles's middle names, Arthur, is also one of William's middle names and was a middle name of the Queen's father, George.VI. The legendary King Arthur was the mythical leader of the Knights of the Round Table, who supposedly lived in the 5th or 6th century. Once popular, the name fell out of fashion, but has had a revival in recent years. Former Prime Minister David Cameron has a son called Arthur. Queen Victoria used to insist that the name Albert was used as a middle name by her descendants, if not a first, in honor of her much-loved consort Prince Albert. By choosing Albert or Bertie for a boy, William and Kate would be honoring Queen Elizabeth II's father, George.VI, who was actually Albert Frederick Arthur George, but always known to his family as Bertie. Shy, stammering Bertie was forced to become king when his brother Edward VIII abdicated, but won the nation's affection by standing firm in London during the Second World War. A lasting tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh could see a Prince of Cambridge called Philip. Both Charles and William have Philip as a middle name. The Duke, known for his dedication to duty and his acerbic wit, has been married to the Queen for more than 70 years and is the nation's longest-serving consort. A Prince Freddie of Cambridge would have a historical link to the first Duke of Cambridge. Prince Adolphus Frederick lived from 1774 to 1850 and was a son of George.III. He was apparently very fond of interrupting church services by bellowing out by all means if the priest said, "Let us pray." William may have chosen to pay tribute to his father, but perhaps as a middle name, as it may be considered dissimilar to Charlotte. James could have been chosen to signify Kate's affection for her brother, the baby's uncle, James Middleton. William already has a cousin James, the Earl and Countess of Wessex's son, Viscount Severn. James is a Stuart name. James I, son of Mary, Queen of Scots, had been King of Scotland for 36 years as James VI when he became King of England in 1603. They could have chosen William as a middle name, but also perhaps Michael as a middle name out of respect for Kate's father. Kate's grandfather on her paternal side was called Peter, while on her maternal side, her grandfather was Ronald.